Hey everyone, welcome to Talk of the Town. This is a podcast where we talk about all things media, creators, business, and more. My name is Tristin. I am the host of the podcast. Is this your first time listening to the podcast? Thank you for tuning in. And if you are returning from previous episodes of the podcast, thank you so much for tuning back into new episodes. Really means a lot to myself and everyone working on the podcast. Now, first off, I want to apologize to you guys for not having many episodes out this week in February, that being the week of the 17th and stuff, because I've been doing just a lot of different things and haven't really been able to do so. And on top of that, there's been so much information flying around and so many things happening in different worlds that it's been very hard to keep track of things. But we're here, and hopefully this will be a really good episode for many of you. Now, getting into our first topic, this is something that I did not have on my 2023 bingo card, and something that when it was brought to my attention yesterday, absolutely blew my mind. And that is the news that Susan Wojcicki, and I apologize, I'm probably mispronouncing her name, who is exiting YouTube as the CEO. She is no longer the CEO at YouTube. And honestly, again, this is something I did not have on my 2023 bingo card, right? She has been the CEO of YouTube for really the last 9 years, has been with Google basically since the very beginning, right? If you think about it, she actually at one point in time had the Google headquarters in her garage, right? So it is quite literally crazy to think about, where YouTube has gone from that point, where Google has gone from that point even. The fact that she actually helped orchestrate the acquisition of YouTube, like I said, been there, as the CEO for the last 9 years. And it's quite literally a really crazy thing when you think about it, right? As someone who's a content creator who's been on the platform since 2012, sorry, I have gotten to see a lot of what Susan has done, both good, bad, and indifferent for content creators, for everyday people, and as well for the entertainment and the media industry. Right? It is easy to say that YouTube is probably the biggest content gathering and viewed platform out there in the world, right? And I mean that's because there's hundreds of millions or billions of minutes of content being uploaded every single day, and it's quite literally crazy to see this happening. Now, Susan actually posted a note both on social media and company wide, and I want to read this because I feel one that is appropriate to do so, and also at the same time it gives an idea of where YouTube can be heading, and we'll talk about the leadership change as well. So, Susan's memo started by saying this. Hi, YouTubers. 25 years ago, I made the decision to join a couple of Stanford graduate students who were building a new search engine. Their names were Larry and Sergey. I saw the potential of what they were building, which was incredibly exciting. And although the company only had a few users and no revenue, I decided to join the team. Over the years, I've worn many hats and done so many things. Managed marketing, co-created Google image search, like Google's first video and book search, as well as early parts of the AdSense creation, and worked on the YouTube and DoubleClick acquisitions. Served as SVP of ads, and for the last 9 years, the CEO of YouTube. Today, after nearly 25 years, I've decided to step back from my role as the head of YouTube and start a new chapter focused on family, health, and personal projects I'm passionate about. The time is right for me, and I feel I am able to do this because we have an incredible leadership team in place at YouTube. When I joined YouTube 9 years ago, one of my first priorities was bringing in an incredible leadership team. Neil Moran was one of those leaders, and he'll be the new SVP and head of YouTube. I've nearly spent 15 years of my career working with Neil. First, when he came over to Google with the DoubleClick acquisition, and his role grew from there. In 2015, he became YouTube's chief product officer. Since then, he has set up a top-notch product and UX team, played pivotal roles in the launch of some of the biggest products for YouTube, including YouTube TV, YouTube Music, Premium, and Shorts, and has led our trust and safety team, ensuring that YouTube lives up to its responsibilities as a global platform. With all we're doing across short streaming subscriptions, together with the promise of AI, YouTube's most exciting opportunities are ahead, and Neil is the right person to lead us. For all the YouTubers I've had the privilege to work with, you have done so much to make this platform better over the years. You created the largest creative economy the world has ever seen, enabled entirely new forms of art and storytelling, and supported millions of creators and artists to reach new audiences, all while investing in responsible growth so that this brilliant community of creators, artists, viewers, and advertisers can not only coexist but thrive together. There's other parts to her statement as well that I am going to admit, but again, I think it is really crazy to see. Just so much happened under YouTube, right? Under the last 9 years, with Susan being the CEO, as she mentions, right? Just in the last, the last 7 or 8 years, they've launched YouTube TV, YouTube Music, Premium, YouTube Shorts, even originally YouTube's production side, YouTube Originals, which did TV shows and movies and so many innovative things here or there. I think has always really been great. And Susan's also been someone who's incredibly humble, right? I was watching a video just the other day where she acknowledged, the mistake of the YouTube Rewind back in 2018. The mistakes of removing the dislike system from YouTube and things of that nature. So I think this is going to be a very interesting transformation for YouTube. Again, I think it's something that has probably been in the works for a while. And again, the fact that she has confidence in Neil Moran, now being the CEO of YouTube, I think that this could be a very interesting thing. I myself really hope that this creates opportunities actually for the platform to get better for creators, because I feel like that is something that hasn't really happened as much as we'd like it to be. So there is that. Let me know what you guys think on social media about that or through Spotify. Now, before we get into our second topic, I want to talk about a sponsor of the podcast, that being Zencastr. Zencastr is the ultimate all-in-one podcasting platform. They bundle all your podcasting needs, recording, editing, distributing, and monetizing all from the same place. This is actually the platform I use to record Talk of the Town on, and I'm also an investor in the company because I love what they do. I love the tools that they give for people who are trying to create a podcast, and it is literally a lifesaver. It makes it so much easier than having to record podcasts through Google Meets and Zoom and things of that nature. So it is really something that is great. Plus, Zencastr also has its own ads manager and its own creator network with many podcasts and things of that nature. So if you're really interested in wanting to improve your podcast or start a podcast, sign up for free at zencastr.com. That is zencastr.com. All right. Now, getting into our second topic for this episode, this is one that I've had my eyes on for quite some time. And it goes all the way back to the fall of last year, and that has to do with the toy company Hasbro and the entertainment company known as eOne. Now, for those that don't basically know, basically I think it was within the last 5 or so years that eOne, which is a really well known entertainment and television company, basically got bought by Hasbro, right? I want to say this was actually 2019 to be exact, right? And at the time, it was a really big deal, right? Now, essentially, sometime last fall, Hasbro basically said that they were going to sell or restructure its media stuff. And part of that was announcing that they were going to sell off the TV and film business of Entertainment One, and ultimately keep only the non or I think it's getting rid of all the non Hasbro assets from scripted and unscripted and films and things like that, which is kind of a very interesting thing to think of, right? I mean, there are a lot of projects over the years that came out of Entertainment One, things like, for instance, Criminal Minds, Cardinal, Designated Survivor, The Walking Dead, Cruel Summer, Saving Hope, tons of other really amazing TV shows and things like that. And on top of that, like they had a lot of really interesting films also come out. I believe like the Insidious movies came out through Entertainment One. I'm trying to think if there's other like interesting movies that I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but they've always had like a really interesting um, journey as an entertainment company. Well, essentially, Deadline is reporting that Hasbro has shown some strong interest from potential buyers. They go on to quote the CEO of Hasbro, Chris Cox, basically saying that their focus on content is centered around Hasbro IP for the long term. The sales process for the majority of eOne's film and TV is underway with strong interest in these. We expect to have an update in the second quarter. And honestly, that's kind of crazy to think about. That within the next couple of months, um, Entertainment One again, a really well-known media production company could be getting sold again. I think that honestly, this is a really big mistake for Hasbro because again, eOne has such a prestigious catalog of content that it has done in the film space, in the television space, in the kids and family, world. And just ultimately, I feel like this is just a really dumb decision in so many ways. But it's very interesting to see that they are doing this, right? That they are considering, selling off this. And I certainly want to get your guys' thoughts, though, on this because, again, this is something I, have been paying attention to since the last August when this sale really started being floated around in the entertainment industry, and it's certainly interesting. Now, as far as potential buyers, I mean, there is a lot of intriguing things that could happen here, right? I certainly think that a lot of the bigger studios like your Disney, your Warner Brothers, your Paramounts, Sony's, whoever out there are definitely going to be fighting for this. Um, and honestly, if I had to pick a company I think is going to walk away with this, honestly, I either would say Warner Brothers Discovery, Paramount, or Comcast. And the reasons why, first off, Warner Brothers Discovery needs to really fix itself. And by doing this and bringing, hopefully, let's say eOne under Warner Brothers Television, that will do a lot of really good projects across the board. I think Paramount makes also a ton of sense because you look at the fact that eOne has also recently started co-producing like Transformers Rise of the Beast. They've done some of the other stuff over the last couple of years like Transformers Earthspark. They have tons of kids content, and on top of that, they've also done some family related stuff, some unscripted. There's just a lot of different things that they do that I think would be really great. I think also though it could make sense for a Comcast to buy Entertainment One, because again, there's so much depth to what this company does and everything across the board. It would make again just a lot of sense to do this. And certainly I'd love to know what you guys think about this on social media. Is this something that you think could happen, where it gets sold off to a Comcast, a Disney, a Warner Brothers, Paramount? Let me know who you guys think Entertainment One would get sold to if it came down to it. So, that being said, guys, before we get into our third topic, I want to talk about another sponsor of the podcast, that being One More. One More is an award-winning professional audio brand that is committed to bringing people high-end audio solutions with studio quality sound, delicate designs, and an excellent build quality. I myself have tons of their wired earphones and wireless earbuds, and I love the sound that comes from them. Specifically, I have their dual driver active noise cancellation earbuds that are super crisp. You give a really great quality. They are tuned by a Grammy Award winning engineer. Most of their products are tuned by Grammy Award winning engineers, and it is just an amazing thing. Whether you are a music lover, young or old, frugal or affluent, you deserve to hear music as it was meant to be heard, as the artist intended it to be heard, and you can only do that with One More. If you want to, go and check out the link in the show notes for One More, where you can go and buy products and support the podcast at the same time. All right. Now, with that being said, guys, let's get into our third topic for this video. And this one is, again, another one coming out of the entertainment industry, a massive shakeup going on over at AMC Networks. And honestly, this is kind of crazy to think about. The fate of AMC Networks over the last couple of years has been a very rocky thing, right? AMC itself has always been up to a lot of interesting things, and it seems that basically they are getting ready for a new leadership change. They have basically announced that Tristin Dolan, a member of the Dolan family, is now the new CEO of AMC Networks, and I think that'll be interesting. She is the wife of James Dolan, who's the executive chair of AMC. This is going to be very intriguing, right? So, I mean, if you think about it, I think it is really, sort of a very interesting time for AMC, right? Because of the fact being that AMC as a cable network had prospered for so long, like The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, Mad Men, and tons of other shows at a time when linear distribution to Netflix was in its infancy. And on top of that, they really, defined the scripted world on television outside of others like Sci-Fi and the CW and so forth. So I think it's very interesting to see this happening, right? If you think about it, specifically the fact that Kristen Dolan is replacing Christina Spade, who really had only been there for 3 months in the job before parting. So it's been a very interesting thing to see happening. They've been laying off people, to the tune of 20% of the workforce. They're facing cord cutting across the board. They do have some really great, streaming services like Shudder, Acorn, and AMC Plus. I think that also AMC, when it comes to streaming, is actually very good because they have like 20 to 25 million that they hope to have by 2025. And they expect for streaming to have more revenue than the traditional pay per TV model. So I think that this is very interesting. Again, seeing what's going to happen at AMC is really intriguing. I think if this helps put AMC back on the right track and gets them into a point where they are creating again, really great content on AMC, on Sundance, on the streaming platforms, on whatever else that they're doing, I think that this is such a beneficial thing to do, because again, they really, really need it, from my opinion. And ultimately, I wish them the best of luck with how things go from here. Let me know what you guys think about this on social media. Are you someone that loves AMC? Are you someone that's, kind of intrigued by this? Are you someone that feels that there could be, cost cutting happening? Let me know what you guys think and everything like that. All right, everyone. Now, with us going forward, I want to talk about a little bit of a special topic for this episode. And this is actually one that I have been thinking of myself, right? Because we're seeing a really interesting thing happening in the entertainment space right now, and sort of in the business world as well, where the trend of disruption is rearing its head. And I know is a buzzword and sort of a fluffer word by using the word disruption or things of that nature. But one of the things we're seeing a lot right now in the entertainment industry is cost cutting, is removing content, and really what this does for the entertainment industry and also for viewers of content on streaming platforms, on TV, all sorts of different things, right? If you think about it, right, let's, just use last year, for example, with Warner Brothers Discovery, they cut billions of dollars in content that was living on the platform that people loved, whether it was your, scripted shows, your unscripted, your, films like Scoob Holiday Haunt and Batgirl. You look at, canceling even more shows or, taking them off the platform entirely to not have to pay residuals. So now again we're seeing this happening with more and more media companies, right? Disney under Bob Iger just announced that they're going to cost cut $5 billion in expenses. The majority of that, I believe, like 3.5 billion of that is in non-sports related content, meaning scripted and unscripted. You look at Paramount, which while getting ready to boost prices for Paramount Plus, is looking to also do a very similar thing, right? Is looking to cut costs and also at the same time really revitalize. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because of the fact being that I feel like this puts the entertainment industry at a really crossroads between the way that things have been and the way that audiences have established trust with these companies over the last 5-10 years, right? You look at a company like, again, like let's say for instance CW, who never cut shows for so very long, even if it wasn't necessarily making them a profit. They still kept making the shows and kept going season after season after season after season. You look at things like Netflix, which produced so many great shows over time and now has been trying to financially course correct itself into a foxhole. You look at, again, all these other companies who are trying to make really great content, but then also failing to realize that in the process of cost cutting and removing content or taking content away from one place to another, that you're alienating the ability for viewers and audiences to really connect with content, right? The idea of streaming was that these entertainment companies, again, like a Netflix or a Disney or Paramount or whoever the case may be, could create content that they could then share to the audiences that love and revere that type of content. Whether it's a superhero show, whether it's a teen drama, whether it is a show that you grew up watching, whether it's a film that you really endure. And I think it's kind of a very interesting backtrack, right, that we're seeing, where again this cost cutting that you see happening again with Disney, with a Netflix, with a Warner Brothers Discovery, it takes content away from the people that really love the content and basically filters out the human connection. And that's part of where I wanted to talk about with this is the human connection that again we share with entertainment companies and that we also share with each other in so many ways and so forth, that I think it is very intriguing to see, what the entertainment industry will look like moving forward under this, right? I think that eventually things will go back to the way it has been for the last 10 years, where companies will make tons of content. People love, certain shows and then get into other shows either while they're still airing or once they've ended or things of that nature. I think it'll be very interesting to see, what happens across the board. And that is where we're going to end off with this episode of the podcast. If you guys did enjoy this episode, please make sure to share it with your friends, family, anybody that you know on social media. It really means a lot to myself and everyone working on the podcast, because I'm trying, and we're all trying to create the best podcast for you guys and everything as well, guys. On Monday, the 20th, we are going to have new guests coming onto the podcast, and it's going to be bi-weekly for guests. So every 2 weeks we're going to have a guest on the podcast, which I think is going to be really great and everything. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this episode of the podcast. If you want to follow the podcast on social media, make sure to go to Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, and the handle is Talk of Town Pod. That being said, my name is Tristin, the host of the podcast, and we'll see you all in the next one.